Trigger warning. This work contains graphic depictions of trauma, abuse, and disturbing family dynamics, including references to sexual assault, manipulation, and emotional distress. Reader discretion is strongly advised. If you are sensitive to these themes, please approach with caution.
Born to be his victim, family dinners with my stalker. Since childhood, I've wanted to be a famous writer like Stephen King, Daphne du Maurier, Anne Rice, Edgar Allan Poe. In grade school, when they handed out that "what do you want to be when you grow up" questionnaire, I wrote writer. My mother? She was horrified. She'd read my journals, afraid I'd expose our family secrets. She gave me anxiety about even holding a pen. She drank herself to death. That's what happened to her for following his rules. My mother's been gone for over 10 years now. I don't miss her. She was broken long before she died. He broke her. Now he wants to break me. As Willie Nelson once sang, "Mama, don't let your babies grow up to be cowboys." But to me, it always meant, don't let your children chase their dreams. It'll only end in heartbreak. My dreams evolved. Right now, I'm building a YouTube channel, trying to go with the flow, adapting to where the audience is. I've long since written off the novel industry as dead. I hope this channel leads to subscribers, maybe even an audience. I self-published a book once. Last time I checked, it earned me 50 cents, 2 shiny coins for 5 years of work. But I'm not a starving artist. I have a good job. I can pay my bills. I survive. This is a hobby, nothing more. Some people have a team. They share a spark of an idea, and others help it grow, adding structure, momentum, and polish. The idea becomes bigger than them. That kind of collaboration feels like magic. But I don't have that. I don't have anyone to build on my ideas, to see my work from new angles, to help shape a rough draft into something lasting. I have to be the dreamer, the editor, the technician, the marketer, the analyst, the audience, all of it. Alone. This isn't a dream anymore. It's a puzzle. I'm learning AI, I'm learning editing. I'm analyzing my own failures, trying to understand why my videos get 1 view and that viewer bails after 10 seconds. I've even considered making 10-second videos to match the attention span. But would that even feel like art? Would that give me satisfaction? But I do have bad news. I've seen the writing on the wall. The cards are clear. This is futile. I won't achieve my dream. I won't be in the 1%. This is just an exercise, nothing more. I know this will fail, and still I do it. So why do I keep doing this? I've spoken to my therapist about this. She's seen it before, how trauma victims can become reliant on tarot cards to control the future. It's a problem, one I have to acknowledge. There's a level of need that I have to dial down to discipline myself from turning to the cards for every tiny decision. Will this lead to a bad outcome? Will these genes cause something terrible to happen? Will this sweater bring me some sort of pain or trauma today? Should I fake an illness and stay inside, avoiding whatever's out there? There's safety in not progressing, in isolating, because isolating means no more trauma. Not trying, not doing, means safety. It's a way to make sense of the chaos. I ask, will this succeed? And here's the irony. I ask the cards, will I become a successful writer? Will this YouTube venture succeed? Forget that I'd have to reflect on what success really means. What is success, anyway? In this world, what does it look like? Money, which I actually don't care about. Fame? Asks the person with a faceless YouTube channel. The answer is always no. And there's a strange sense of security in that. A sigh of relief. I can tell the truth here because no one is listening. No one is here with me. I'm alone on the internet. I dedicate myself. I try to spend an hour each day on this dream. When I don't, I get frustrated, angry with myself. Quitting? That's easy. Not picking up the notebook? Easy. But the silence that follows the giving up, that's worse. But it's Saturday. Today I go to my father's house. My life is on hold today and not mine. It's my father's. My father was my first stalker. I've tried in therapy to go no contact. But the reality is I'd have to fake my death. Move far away, find a new job, lose the few good people left in my life. Essentially, I'd have to start everything over again. But he uses my brother, what they call a flying monkey, to reel me back in. Unless I disappear completely, it's inevitable. My brother has told me the results of my going no contact for him, enduring the non-stop yelling. My father makes his life hell. There's no relaxing, no enjoying a coffee or watching a hockey game. It's constant yelling, meant to break him. And it does. My father is a bully because my father makes his life unbearable. He yells, he nitpicks, he doesn't give him a moment of peace. My brother has learned the one thing that brings silence, his peace and quiet, the one thing that stops the abuse, if only for a moment, is to bring me to dinner. So he does. Week after week, he pulls me into it. These dinners, these feeder holidays. He knows what they are. I know what they are. Dad plays the part. He acts well. He's polite, shallow, civil. He turns on that fake charm like a bad actor in a sitcom. I recognize it for what it is. It happens every time. A boundary gets crossed. I go no contact for days, months, even years. When I was younger, there was Mom. She softened everything about him, recasting his actions as harmless. The heartbreak came each time I believed my mother. Each time I gave in and tried to see my father through the lens she insisted on. I bought into the story, the same one she told herself every day, the story she clung to until the end. Just teasing, just being a dad, just being a husband. He wasn't overbearing, he was caring, and for a while he'd rise to the occasion, performing the role of a normal father, a decent man. But eventually the discomfort would creep back in. That same subtle, familiar unease. I'd reach my limit, I'd step away. But the cycle always repeated. I'd feel disrespected by him, worn down by the rest of the family, and pushed until I gave in again. Mom's gone now. My brother has taken her place, the honeymoon period, that calculated calm before the mask slips, his way of saying, see, I'm not so bad, it's all in your head. But it's not. We both know who he really is. So I sit there, guard up, on my day off, knowing I'm not there for dinner, I'm there to make the yelling stop. Last time I was there, I was in the laundry room at Dad's. My brother was in the kitchen, prepping the Sunday family meal, the one I'm forced to attend. I've given up fighting it. Everyone knows I don't want to be there. No one seems to care. I overheard Dad enter the kitchen, his voice low, edged with menace, cut through the quiet. Is your sister here? It wasn't a question. It was a warning. My brother answered, soft and submissive, yes. And that was the end of the conversation. No more words, just obedience. I told my brother I wanted to murder our father, not in passing, not as a joke. I meant it. That's why I had to cut off all contact. The daydreams had started, vivid ones, like a dog chewing through its own paw to escape a chain. That's what it felt like, trapped. And when you're that trapped, murder starts to seem like a kind of freedom. The fantasy became a plan. I made a shopping list in my head. I used incognito browsing to research the rest. I knew exactly what I had to do. And then I had to ask myself, am I willing to live in a world where the price of my freedom is someone else's life? I told my brother. I even offered to share the plan. He refused. Didn't want to hear it. I tried to explain, to keep our father alive, I had to disappear. No contact, for my sake, for his, for everyone's. Telling him wasn't a threat. It was insurance. Same as telling my therapist, a safeguard. If anything ever happened, they'd know. They'd point fingers. They'd see the truth. Because my so-called freedom would mean prison. That was the cost. That was the math. But my brother wouldn't let it go. He kept pushing until I finally understood. My survival meant disappearing. His survival meant dragging me back. And I'm the big sister. That instinct runs deep. Protect him, even if it kills me. That's how I was wired. That's how we were raised. It's inevitable. There's no escaping this. I was born to be my father's victim. I'm in my 50s now. I've endured a lifetime of deeply confusing and painful behavior from my father. Oddly, he always stayed loyal to my mother, at least in the traditional sense. But he developed a reputation as someone who couldn't keep boundaries. He'd go on frequent coffee outings with other women. Later in life, he was convicted of sexual offenses. One involved showing up uninvited at a woman's home, insisting she let him in for coffee. Another involved inappropriate behavior toward a teenage girl. He was eventually placed under house arrest. There's a specific memory that stays with me, like a still photo in my mind. I was in my early 20s, getting into the passenger seat of his car. As he drove, his hand moved toward the tender upper part of my thigh, which made me freeze. I pulled away. I didn't say anything, and neither did he. But something in me changed forever. What was that? Was he trying to satisfy an urge? Unwilling to repress himself? Was it an invitation? I've been called a snob, stuck-up, cold, heartless. This is why men put down women for going to therapy, because therapy gives us standards. Because we learn to see the signs. We learn what safety feels like. We learn what danger pretending to be love looks like. Why? Because I started noticing the red flags. Because I recognized inappropriate behavior. Because I stopped confusing unwanted attention for love. Because I refused to tolerate harassment, even when it was dressed up like affection. I keep a list of the men who've approached me, men who crossed boundaries, men who tested mine, and on that list of men I've rejected is my father. It's hard to describe the sensation of feeling like you have to defend yourself from your own father, to feel obligated to push back against something that should never have happened. That moment didn't come out of nowhere. It was the culmination of a lifetime of subtle lines crossed, and I've carried that tension my whole life. I endure his comments, his roaming eyes, the way he critiques my clothes, how he hates this kind of shirt on me, what he thinks of my bra, how he likes my hair best when it's down. 2 weeks ago, I was over there. The washing machine was banging around out of balance. I went to check, opened the lid, started rearranging the wet clothes. He leaned around the corner, that flirty sing-song voice of his trailing behind him. "I thought you'd be sitting on it," he said. That's what he said. To me, his daughter. And the worst part, I recognized that voice. His playful, flirting voice. 2 years ago, he said, "My penis is a weapon, but you're afraid to talk about sex." To his daughter, I said, "You think that's okay to say to your daughter?" He makes it known. My father wants to fuck me. Are all fathers like this? Is this how all fathers are towards their daughters? I want to ask my brother, did mom speak like this to you? But I don't bother. I've given up. I know what his answer will be. I know where his loyalty lies. There is no protection for me, no support. So I wait. My father is 80. This will end soon. In therapy, we've talked about it. Going no contact for good. But to really escape, I'd have to fake my death. Change jobs, move, cut ties with the few good people I still have in my life. I'd have to start over completely, again. That kind of freedom comes at a cost I'm not sure I can pay. So I compromise. I show up, I try to manage, and maybe, he's learned to keep his thoughts to himself, but then he says something like the washing machine comment, and I realize he hasn't changed. He's still thinking his creepy little thoughts. He still makes my skin crawl, still makes me sick. And yet, every Saturday, I go. I sit there, watching the clock, wasting my day off. I don't get home until after 8. The whole day is gone. I make awkward conversation with a man I know is always listening for ammunition, as I try to give him nothing. I know that everything I say, every word is stored, twisted, used later. I speak carefully. I smile when I must. But really, I'm just waiting. Waiting for it to be over, waiting for my day off to end, and it makes every kind gesture suspicious. A random gift, like the time he gave me a car, was never just a gift. It became a reason to monitor me. After all, he had to make sure I was taking care of it. Every tiny act of generosity came with invisible strings, not to be trusted, never free. Because what could it lead to? What would I owe? If I accept a gift, what will I be expected to give up in return? The problem is, if I ask for something, I'll get it. Money, help with the laundry machine, transportation, emergencies. But it makes me need to be independent because if I give in, even once, I've stepped into the trap. Convenience, generosity, dependence. I don't think my father will ever try to sexually assault me. Not in the way people expect. He doesn't need to. He's not waiting for an opportunity for violence. He's waiting for me to come to him. To submit. That's the kind of man he is. Quiet, constant, watching. The threat isn't in what he does. It's that he waits, and still, I'm the one told not to take it seriously. To just ignore it. How do I survive? How do I cope? I write his eulogy in my head. That's all I can do. I imagine it like a scene from a play I've rehearsed for years, standing at the front in front of his brother, my cousins, my brother. What will they do when I tell the truth? When I say without shame that this day, his death, is the greatest day of my life? I worry I'll smile too much, that I won't sound sad enough, that I'll forget to keep my voice flat, my face calm. I practice for that moment, not to honor him, but to make sure I don't betray just how free I feel. I'll be restraining joy. Because the man who haunted my childhood, stalked my adulthood, and twisted every holiday into a trap, he'll finally be gone. I will finally be able to rest in peace, and my last words at his funeral, they won't be sweet. They'll be a warning. Don't be the person everyone waits to die so they can finally breathe. What a sorry life that is. It's the only power I have. Writing is the one place where I'm not being watched, touched, corrected, or silenced. It's the only place where I don't have to shrink, even when I think I hate it, even when it feels like screaming into a void. It still feels better than not creating at all, because when I write, I exist fully, and even if no one else ever reads it, I did. I witnessed myself. I have dissociative identity disorder, and I believe it began here with the lie I was forced to live. A lifetime of smiling through abuse, of being polite when I wanted to scream. I've spent years repressing my anger, telling myself those violent thoughts weren't mine, convincing myself they belonged to someone else, because that's what I was taught, that rage is wrong, that dark thoughts are evil, that silence is survival. But writing, that's mine. It's the one thing they never managed to take. Not my father with his poison. Not my mother with her silence. I've never said this out loud, not to anyone. Not even my therapist has heard this one. But since this is my confessional and you've become my priest, I'll tell you. I came up with 2 plots to kill my father. One was humane. He'd die in his sleep. He's 80 years old. No one would question that. I believed that if I put him down gently, I wouldn't feel guilt. Wouldn't need to repress anything. No trauma. No scars. Just peace. But I also found something else. A way to kill him that no one could trace. No fingerprints, no cause, just death. That would take days, and imagining it gave me joy. I can still see it. Him refusing to see a doctor, staying in bed, screaming in agony. And me, the dutiful daughter, watching, holding his hand, spoon-feeding him soup, suppressing my glee as I watched him die. And here's the part that haunts me. If I ever crossed that line, could I come back? Could I still look at myself in the mirror? Could I ever find peace again? Because that's the problem with becoming this person. You might win, you might survive, but at what cost? My soul? My humanity? So instead of committing a crime, I write them down. I create characters who take action, who do what I can't. I murder on the page because daydreaming about violence isn't a crime. Googling how to kill isn't a crime if it becomes art. If I don't write about the darkness, it festers. If I don't give it shape, it takes over. So I turn it into story, into fiction, into something that can't hurt anyone. That's why I write. To keep myself from becoming the thing I fear. You might ask, what do I fear? There's the obvious stuff, being exposed, going viral, ending up on the news, everyone pointing and saying, look at her, but if I'm honest, what I really fear is turning into my mother, enduring his abuse, swallowing it, smiling through it, dying quietly, drink by drink, because that's the only escape I was taught. So, did I do it? Did I break the 10-second curse? Did this hold your attention all the way to the end? Yes! Are you still here? In a world so saturated with villains, does anyone really need another one? Imagined or not, we are living in a time where fiction doesn't quite work the same. The truth, that's the rebellion now. And maybe that's what this is. A quiet little revolution, hidden in plain sight. Strange, isn't it? Tonight I told you something real. Is it powerful? Is it the start of something new? Or just a moment out of step? Even I don't know. And if it did, will you stay? Will you come back? For more of what you ask? Well, isn't that the surprise?